Hi everyone, my name is Kyle, and it looks like the prince from the original Snow White is just a stalker now, according to the new actress for the new Snow White adaptation, Rachel Zegler here. I got an article here from Bounding Into Comics, great website. John F. Trent, the writer of this article. I mean, the research he does, it is incredible stuff he does here. But the article here is titled Rachel Zegler says Prince stalked Snow White in original film, reveals live action version is not really about love story at all. Now, before I go into this, I'm going to say these aren't exactly new comments. They're just comments that are kind of resurfacing from over a year ago now. Almost a year ago, was it September 2022? So I'll read the article just a little bit. Upcoming Snow White actress Rachel Zegler had some pointed comments about the film when she discussed it back in September 2022 at the D23 Expo, describing that Disney depicted the prince in the original animated movie as a stalker. My IQ is dropping. And the interview's right here. I'll play a little bit of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Now, the comments that she makes, they're from almost a year ago now. They're right here. I'll play it real quick for you. It starts about 30 seconds into this video here. I'm not going to play the whole entire video because some of it's about her being in the Hunger Games, not exactly relevant, but I'll play her comments right here.
Now that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White, what did you mean by that?
It's the current year, essentially what they're saying. It's one of those phrases they like to say because it's, and then just insert the current year in the blank.
By that.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay, so she's playing Snow White, and she's basically already insulting the original one because it came out 1937. How many years ago is that now? That's got to be 2023, 86 years ago. Yeah, that'd be 86 years ago. I'm a master mathematician when it comes to addition and subtraction and multiplication, but if you start adding numbers and letters and calculus and stuff like that, then I don't know anything about math at all. All right, we'll continue.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
Again, if you're playing the if you're starring in that movie, I mean, why would you be insulting the original like this? I mean, why would you be attacking the original like this? It doesn't seem like that good of an idea to me.
Do that this time.
So no Prince?
Oh, thank God they didn't do that this time. The original movie, essentially what she's saying, the original movie it's problematic, it's toxic, it's outdated, but don't worry, we're going to fix that.
Kind of Prince.
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true,
it's
yeah.
an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets.
There's never been a better time to get away.
How is it? Okay, I gotta start this over. I think it was around here.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds
Shocking.
love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true.
Yeah, one of the things about modern movies today is it's not politically correct for a woman to have a love interest anymore. It means that she's dependent on a man, or her source of happiness is a man, or something like that, and we can't have that. That's misogyny, that's patriarchy, that's a bunch of other buzzwords like that. We can't do that in a story now. We can't have a woman fall in love with a man anymore. It's not politically correct.
It's an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets a lot of people along the way that make the journey really incredible.
I know I'm almost wrapped, but I quickly have to ask you about the Hunger Games prequel.
Oh, I don't care about that. Oh my God, look at where we paused it. I didn't do that on purpose, people. Okay, look. So the actress playing Snow White, Rachel Zegler, she's 22 from what I checked, and this is from a year ago, so she would have been 21. I mean, she's young, and I think anytime someone's much younger like that, you're not going to quite know how to handle PR stuff. You're not going to quite, you're not going to quite have as good a grip on knowing what are good things to say and what are not good things to say when you're trying to market a certain product, or in this case, a movie. So, keep that in mind. And the stuff she's saying, I mean, it's similar talking points that we hear from other people we've been hearing for the last several years. Yeah, I do wonder how much of this is Disney telling her to say these things. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the one to ask on this. I mean, I'll make a couple comments on this interview, though. I mean, she says Snow White does not get rescued, and, they made a Little Mermaid remake recently. It came out in May, so a few months ago. And same thing essentially happened there, where originally it was the prince who defeated Ursula in the Little Mermaid, and they changed that so that it was a Little Mermaid, because again, we can't have men rescue women, even if that's what the original Little Mermaid had. We can't have that now. It's not politically correct. Having a man do something heroic it's toxic. It's toxic masculinity. It's problematic. We can't have that now. And it looks like they're going to be doing the same thing in Snow White, which frankly I think all of us we could all predict this at this point. I mean, these are kinds of changes that they're implementing into basically everything now. I'm going to make this comment here on that about the idea of men rescuing women, because this modern day, I'll call it wokeness or whatever term you want to use, feminism is a very big part of it, and in the minds of feminists, fairy tales basically are where a bunch of women are helpless damsels in distress who need to be rescued by men. Essentially, that's how they view fairy tales, and so in stories like this, Snow White, or they're setting out to try and correct that sort of thing. I mean, first I'll say, look, yes, there are some fairy tales out there that feature men rescuing women. Get over it. There are also some fairy tales out there that feature women rescuing men. Have you read the tale of the Snow Queen? Have you read the tale of the Wild Swans? Have you read the tale of the Witch of Loch Lake? Have you read Hansel and Gretel? I mean, there's others, but that's just a few. I mean, the people who make this claim about, or basically criticize fairy tales, who are saying that, a man rescues a woman, and, I can tell they haven't read very many fairy tales at all. I mean, among those that I just listed, the Snow Queen in particular, that I like the Snow Queen tale a lot. The main character, her name is Gerda. I mean, these are kids, Kay and Gerda. Kay, he's a boy. He gets taken away by the Snow Queen. And Gerda has to go out on a journey in order to find him. First, she thinks she's dead. She's crying, and then then afterwards, she learns that he's alive, and so she sets out to find him. Okay, I'm going to scroll this article down. I paused this at either a good time or a bad time. You decide that for yourself. Okay, so it's just continuing some of the quotes that she said. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and evidently, so yeah, we heard that in the interview. Okay, I mean, these are just a couple other comments. Zegler, alongside Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen in the upcoming film, previously informed Variety that Zegler's Snow White would not be rescued by a prince. Who could have predicted that? Stories today they're being made by, feminists, and feminists in their mind, fairy tales are essentially where a bunch of women get rescued by men, and we can't have that. Again, you have some fairy tales out there where women save men too, but those never get mentioned. Either because these people, they've never heard of these before, they've never heard of these types of fairy tales like the Snow Queen or Hansel and Gretel before, or they purposely don't mention them because it doesn't fit their narrative that fairy tales are problematic. When asked what she meant by describing that the film has a modern edge, that's another thing that they like to say. We're gonna modernize this story. We're gonna update it for a modern audience, quote unquote, which essentially is just code for we're gonna make it woke, as they call it. We're gonna put identity politics in there. We're gonna inject feminism into it, and a bunch of other stuff like that. I just mean it's no longer 1937. We absolutely wrote a Snow White. Gal Gadot interjected. She's not going to be saved by a prince. Yeah, it's predictable, the changes that they're going to make. It's always predictable nowadays. I mean, we've seen enough of what people in Hollywood, people at Disney do, where we know how they think now, how they approach everything. Zegler then affirmed she's not going to be saved by a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. Yeah, and not going to be dreaming about true love, that's another thing where, having a woman fall in love with a man, that's not politically correct these days. She needs to be a strong, independent, fierce girl boss queen, or some, a bunch of words like that. And, if she falls in love with a man, I mean, that implies that she's more, I don't know, what would be the right word? She's more feminine, or she's more traditional, and that stuff. We can't have that kind of stuff at all. Zegler elaborated, she's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, brave, and true. Yeah. And so it's just a really incredible story, I think, for young people to see themselves in, Zegler concluded. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, Zegler also revealed that the film is also changing the definition of fair in the film. The original animated film made it clear that the term referred to beauty and as proving a lesson in vanity. This will no longer be the definition for Zegler's live-action movie. She explained the reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated. There's that word again. It's dated. If it was made years ago, it's dated and it needs to be updated, it needs to be changed. When it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world, and so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just, who can become a fantastic leader. Zegler continued, and the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom. Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, added also the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince. They keep repeating this phrase, she's not going to be saved by Prince. Did you know that Snow White's not going to be saved by Prince? I don't think they're mentioning it enough times. I really don't. They need to repeat this phrase at least 10 more times, that she's not going to be saved by a prince. Otherwise, I'm not going to know it. And she's a proactive one, and she's the one who sets the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today. While Zegler repeatedly claimed that the original 1937 film was dated, she revealed to Entertainment Weekly that she hadn't seen it since she was a child being cast for the movie. I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once. I never picked it up again. This is another common thing among these activists that are making movies today. They usually don't watch the original that much. They usually aren't fans of the original stories that they're remaking or whatever it is. And in fact, they usually don't even like those movies to begin with. They don't even like those original stories to begin with. People in Hollywood, people at Disney, people in entertainment today, they are not entertainers, they are activists. When they look at movies, or when they look at old movies, they judge them based on how much does it put their messages in there, how much does it put their woke, left-wing, feminist, identity politics type of messages into those movies. And if they don't put those messages in there, then those movies are terrible, period, end of discussion. And she continues, I'm being so serious, I watched it once and I went on a ride in Disney World which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. It doesn't sound like something a kid would like, was so terrified of it, never revisited Snow White again. She then said, so I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years when I was doing this film. And I'm going to show you one more article here. This is from NBC. Rachel Zegler gets viral backlash as comments about Snow White remake resurface. This is by, Callan Rosenblatt. I'm not going to read the whole article. There's just one part down here I'm going to read for you, or I'm going to go through. It's this section right here. Why are people saying Zegler's comments aren't feminist? In a TikTok video, oh God, TikTok. I once went on to TikTok, but I was on there for 5 seconds. I had to leave because my IQ was dropping. But anyway, in a TikTok video that has been viewed 9.5 million times, a user said, criticizing Disney princesses is pseudo-feminism. Criticizing Disney princesses is not feminist. Not every woman is a leader. Not every woman wants to be a leader. Not every woman wants or craves power, said the user, who goes by the handle Cozy with Angie, and that's okay. And she brings up one point here, is that, if you notice, if you look at all the previous movies that have been coming out of Hollywood or coming out of Disney or coming out of Star Wars or wherever, if you notice, like, almost every woman or every female character, I don't know if I'd say they're all exact carbon copies of each other, but they're pretty close where, they need to be quote-unquote strong female characters. They have to be, they can't ever need anybody's help at all. They can never go through any kind of adversity. They need to be girl bosses. That's the term we use for them to best describe them. Some people use the term Mary Sue. I guess Gary Stu is the male version of this term, where basically a character is perfect right from the beginning and they never really go through any kind of adversity. Alright, but it goes on. She didn't respond to a request for comment. Callan Rosenblatt, are you going after people that don't agree with you? Are you trying to get people that whose opinions don't match yours? I'm getting very suspicious here. In her video, she said she believes it isn't anti-feminist for a woman, fictitious or real, to want to fall in love or get married, stay at home, or be soft. Yeah, what's wrong with a woman wanting to do those things? These types of traits right here, wanting to fall in love, wanting to get married, stay at home or be soft or stuff like that. I guess, it's more, traditional woman type of stuff. And, feminists out there hate that, and they got to make sure that, no character that's coming out in entertainment today has any slight resemblance to any of this, essentially. Another user's video got almost 3 million likes. The user, who goes by the handle Sheikah Lord. I know there's a tribe in Zelda called the Sheikah, and they're supposed to be very smart. I like Zelda games, they're fun. The user, who goes by the handle Sheikah Lord, argued that Disney princesses don't have to be turned into girl bosses. Yeah, there's that term, girl bosses. That's essentially what the best way we describe basically every woman, every female character that's coming out in stories today. Argue that Disney princesses don't have to be turned into girl bosses and that their original stories didn't intend them to be. She didn't respond to a request for comment. There it is again. She didn't respond to a request for comment. Is the writer of this article, are these people at NBC, are they intentionally going after people on the internet who don't quite agree with them? I mean, look, not everyone's going to have the same opinions as you. In her video, she said that she believes that the whole thing with art and artistic expression is that there should be diverse characters. Alright, now when they say diverse characters, these people on NBC, these people in Hollywood, these people in Disney or whatever, when they see diverse, they see diversity of race or ethnicity or things like that. That's the only definition that those are the only traits that they think of when they hear the term diverse. I mean, there's no diversity of thought at all in Hollywood or any of these other places. Everybody there basically thinks the exact same way. And she goes on, the whole thing with art and artistic expression is that there should be diverse characters when every female character has a feminist icon stamp on her. Yeah, basically every female character coming out today does have, that's a real good way to put it, feminist icon stamp on her. The whole movie industry becomes boring. Yeah, because every character is almost exactly the same. Every single woman, every single female character is, how she put it, she has a feminist icon stamp on her. She's a girl boss is the way that we describe it. Basically every man's turned into someone who's evil or someone who's a complete buffoon or a complete beta male, whatever term you might want to use there. So I mean the Snow White movie, it's coming out 2024, so I mean it's still a ways away. I mean we're in August of 23, so was it middle August now? I forget exactly what month it's coming out, but I know the Snow White movie, it's still a ways away. We'll see how well it does. I mean, we look at the most recent Disney live-action remake of one of their fairy tales or one of their princess movies, A Little Mermaid. Currently, it's at $567 million, which a lot of these remakes originally, they were bringing in like a good $1 billion easily. So yeah, this is pretty disappointing. I don't know if this is a complete flop or not. I'm sure the movie had a pretty big budget, but yeah, I mean, you compare this to, say, Aladdin, which brought in $1 billion, Beauty and the Beast, that remake brought in $1.2 billion, I believe it was. I think the Lion King movie brought in like a good $1.5 billion, or $1.5 billion. This is a big disappointment when you compare it to other Disney live-action remakes. And the new Snow White movie, there's already a ton of controversy around it, and it's still several months away from coming out. Not looking good at all. I mean, they're already attacking the original Snow White movie. There's already been some fighting with fans. And then these right here, these are your new Seven Dwarfs. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I can see this movie being a complete flop, but at the same time, I mean, when I look at the Little Mermaid movie, I mean, it might bring in at least a little bit of money at the box office. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's still a ways away. It's too early to make any kind of predictions. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care until then.